and happy Wednesday. Welcome to In the Loop. Today, Greg has some really fun news to share with us. I'm so excited to jump over to him. But for those of you who are brand new to the show, welcome to In the Loop with Winnie and Greg. I'm here to keep you posted on all things business finance. But you know what makes this is really fun. It's really fun to be here on a Wednesday with you, Greg. How's your week been going? It feels odd. I feel like I should be seeing on Friday.
Yeah, it's been a crazy week. I mean, because here I will say this: we've had 107-degree temperatures. Oh, I forgot to turn on my monitor too. It's been. I'll fix that. We're live. But yeah, it was 107 earlier this week. It was 105 yesterday. So it's been really hot here. So basically, everybody in the Northwest has been hiding in basements and wherever you can possibly find cool conditions or air conditioning. So that's what the week's been like. And then like running to your car and driving. We're not used to this kind of heat.
Yeah, that's intense. That's like when you can't even walk your dog outside, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which makes for very happy, frustrated dogs. Yeah. The dogs are very crazy. That's what's going on. They don't understand why they can't go outside.
They don't understand. They're like, it's like sunny and everything. Wow, 107. That's like next level. That's where
it's
you
wild.
have to cover your car, right?
What's that?
You have to probably keep your car covered because it's that hot.
Yeah. I mean, it's real hot. You just try to avoid going outside at all. But I mean, I don't know. Does it get that warm where you are?
It has. I mean, okay. I preface this because I know you've been here, but like, Indian Wells, Palm Springs, it does get that hot, like Death Valley for sure. But where we are, not so much, I think, because we're fortunate. We're here in Orange County, which is, I'm about 10, 12 minutes from touching ocean. So fortunately, we have the ocean breeze. So I don't think it gets that hot. I think we might get up to like the 90s.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, you're talking some cool. I know many of you joining from different parts of the United States and also, even across the pond here with Vicky coming in from the UK. But curious to see for those of you joining us, I see Joshua, I see CrossX Fighter on YouTube. Does it get to 107 where you are? Because honestly, Greg, I wouldn't think that Portland would get to 107.
No, I mean, that broke a record. I mean, there was a couple of years ago where we had it where it was 116, and that was insane. I mean, that's like standing out in a furnace. But yeah, it's not supposed to get that hot here. But yeah, what are you gonna do?
So could it be climate change?
Oh, I don't know, huh?
Maybe, I don't know. Well, a big welcome to everybody to In the Loop. Yeah, for those of you who are brand new to the show, I'm Winnie Sun, longtime financial pro, CNBC council member, Forbes contributor, and host of Level Up, which can also be found on NASDAQ. And we got to talk about you, Greg. Like, for those who are brand new to the show, maybe you could introduce yourself.
Yep. And I am Greg Nibbler, and thanks everybody for joining. So really appreciate all of you being here today. I am a longtime tech reporter. I cover a lot of tech here with The Loop with Winnie. I'm also a reporter and producer for Fox 12 Oregon. I do a show called Fox 12 Now, which airs live on a whole bunch of different platforms at 1 p.m. Pacific every day. So I'll be live for that coming up a little bit later. I'm also a podcaster. So a lot of things kind of thrown into the mix there. But here each week with Winnie, it's really so much fun being here with all of you. And like she mentioned, there's people all over the United States, all over the world who are joining. So it's nice to see so many people joining in, seeing your comments. And that's the thing. We are live, so you can drop in your comments as we go through the show. So let us know what it is that you want to talk about, or if you have thoughts on things. I've got a few things we're going to cover today. A couple of them are, one is a piece of future-ish tech you can get now, but I don't know if you need it. Another one is a way off future tech, but it's kind of creepy but cool at the same time. And one is a thing that's happening to a lot of people right now. So we got kind of the past, present, and future all kind of happening here at once today. We'll say it's that way, but that's going to be coming up in that segment. So just really looking forward to finding out, as always, to what Winnie has to talk about, because she covers everything, the actually important news that's on here. So
I don't know. I mean, Greg, you're talking creepy and cool, so I feel like
I got creepy and cool covered.
Yeah, that feel like I definitely am gonna stay tuned for that. That sounds so interesting. All right, creepy and cool. Remember, that's what's happening. All right, let's kick it off talking about creepy and cool. I don't know if it's cool, but it is a little creepy. Let's talk about how the market is doing right now. Unfortunately, triple down day so far. Still a few more hours to go before the market closes. By the time it closes, you'll be able to catch Greg live on his show. So that's going to be really cool. But the Dow currently is down 76 points, the Nasdaq's down 94 points, and the S&P is currently down 15 as well. Unfortunately, that continues from yesterday. It's been a pretty tough week for the financial markets. A lot of stuff is going on. Banking, the banking industry, financial industry has seen better days. Speaking of things that have seen better days, this is something Greg and I have been talking about recently, but the golden age of streaming. Remember back in the day when you used to watch like regular television, you can toggle and see different channels, and then there was cable TV, and you would toggle and see all these different channels, and it was just like one set fee. Albeit cable was getting really expensive, but then all of a sudden everybody jumped to streaming, and streaming was cool because then you could pick what you wanted to watch, and it didn't
Yeah.
seem like it was that expensive, right, Greg? I mean, we're talking like maybe like $8 a month. Some things are $2 a month. Now that whole golden era of cheap streaming, my friends, is coming to an end. So major Hollywood studios now are raising prices on their streaming services. You've seen the strikes going on. You've seen like obviously the cost of production has gone on, especially during the early years of the pandemic. Well,
Yeah.
studios, Disney, Paramount, Warner Brother, Discovery, they've all increased subscription fees, including Disney and Netflix, everything to a point where like literally people are averaging the basket of the top US streaming services will cost about $87 now this fall. It's going to be crazy. It's so much more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I remember doing a lot of reports, especially back for like tech reports, talking about how streaming was what we wanted, the cable companies, and how they bundled everything together, and you had to watch these things you didn't want, and you paid so much. Like that needed to end. We need to be a la carte. And now, yeah, we're right back to it. Like if you really want to watch all of the shows that you want, you're still bundling a bunch of stuff usually that you're not watching. I mean, nobody's watching every single program on Disney Plus or Paramount or any of these ones. There's lots of stuff that you don't need. So it goes back to the same thing as we had before. And now, people are just going to have to start choosing which service, or doing what you mentioned before, starting it up and then stopping it and then bouncing around, which that can, that's a good idea. Although some people, may end up forgetting and keeping the subscription longer. So maybe they can kind of bank on that a little bit, the companies. But yeah, and they're blocking people from sharing passwords too, because that's all going to start happening. I know Disney Plus said that they're going to be doing it, and Paramount Plus is going to be, everybody's going to be doing that too. So you can't even share it among people, even a family member outside of the house or something like that. So I don't know. It is. I mean, regardless, that's what's happening. So yeah, it's coming to an end. I think it's going to come down to probably most people will pick like two, maybe
I
a
think
couple
most
of
people will pick
services.
like three. Everybody I've
Three.
been talking to is like, I just can't live without this and this and this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like, Greg, I feel like it's come full circle, right? Like once you add it all up, it's not that different from cable. And the
Yeah.
other thing is, Greg, I feel like there's going to be more consolidation. I think more companies, like already see the Hulu, Disney coming together, right? I think I think it's going to come down to like three major providers, and they're going to offer a lot of them. And then these prices are going to go up instead of sort of that a la carte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see Disney Plus and Hulu and ESPN just making it under one banner instead of the three separate services or something like that. Yeah. That could happen. And then offering the live program. Yeah. Disney Live or something like that. I could definitely see that happening. And the people who really want the Disney Plus content, especially if you have kids, you're probably going to get that no matter what it is, because there's so much on there. Yeah, it's going to be weird. I mean, and it's going to get expensive.
And that Hollywood labor strike, that definitely
Yeah.
reduced a lot of like new content coming to these different services. And they're saying, so this could definitely impact what they call subscriber churn for streaming services. So they're saying this could have a lot of backlash and negative backlash. So we'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be
Yeah.
interesting.
A lot of changes coming though.
Yeah, a lot of change. And talk about like, just to give you an idea of how expensive this is becoming, most of these streaming services, many of them have increased by 20 to 25%. So that's a lot of inflation on your household budget if
Yeah.
you have like, even two of these, and I think most families or most households have two, at least two.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've got, I mean, not that I'm using anyone else's logins for anything.
Of course not.
I mean, I wouldn't do that. But, if one were to do that, I probably pay for about 3 of them. And, maybe I know somebody else who pays for a couple more of them. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, three probably is the right amount. I think that it'll end up being, depending on how expensive it goes, though.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna really try the toggle thing that I talked about, and we'll
Yeah.
see. But I'll see how that works. I'll definitely report back. Well, here's another story that I think is very interesting as well. This is sort of talking about the future of work, which we talked about on the show many a times. Well, one CEO, Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. Many of maybe even bank at Chase. You probably have a Chase credit card. He has expressed extreme dissatisfaction with remote work, saying that it during which came from the early days of the pandemic. He acknowledges that the flexibility of part-time work is kind of cool, but he really thinks there's no substitute for being physically present at the office. In fact, he has been very, very clear that with JP Morgan Chase, they want to have at least 50% of their workers rotating through offices. And that they wanted that last month. So I'm not sure how they are, but they're anticipating that by next month, September and October, that you will see their offices set up to resemble pre-pandemic scenarios. And in fact, he is even saying on social and whatnot that he is going to cancel all Zoom meetings. If you want to talk to Jamie Dimon, no more Zooming. You got to do it in person, saying that he really prefers in-person interactions. So he came to California recently, talked about all these things, and like they didn't want any virtual meetings. So I'm curious to see how you all feel about this. Definitely
Yeah.
want to hear what you think about this, Greg. But I see Vicky joining us, and I see Joshua. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like you're ready to go all in back to 2019 in terms of the way that you work, or do you think Jamie Dimon is wrong?
I mean, for me personally, right now, I do a little bit of both of those. For part of what I do, I have to go into an office because that's where, yeah, I mean, it's just how it works for a television station. So I get some of the aspects of that, but I also think for the industry that he's talking about, I mean, is that going to be something where people are really going to want to do that after being out on their own, and if they're getting the work done, for the last 3 years? And being able to work remotely like that, or will they just be like, oh, okay, I'll just go to another job? I mean, I think that's a good test to see what happens, see how the workforce responds to that. But I think people, if you're able to do your job remotely, why wouldn't why wouldn't you do your job remotely? You'll have it seems to me you would have a happier employee. People can live the lifestyle they want, but still get as long as the work is getting done, as long as all that's happening. I think I would work on my, remote is probably what I would choose. But yeah, I do want to see what people think, what people are thinking about that.
Yeah, so Vicky is saying that flexible working is good, and I think that's a good
Mm-hmm.
point. Because I will tell you, my team, I'm having trouble getting them back in the office as well. They really enjoy working from home, and I'm fine with that because they are able to juggle, like, grocery shopping and doing laundry and like the basics, getting dinner ready while they work. So I feel like for longevity, maybe like a little bit in person, but I think
Mm-hmm.
by and far mostly is going to be remote. Um, it'll be interesting to see how this transition occurs. That we got to say this. I mean, I don't know if you've been checking the news on this, but the pandemic is like COVID has like a new variant that's going like gangbusters right
Yeah.
now. So I don't know how that might like push out the timeline with it a little bit because they're saying like at least in New York City, like hospitalization because of COVID has increased like by threefold in the last month or something like that. So
Yeah. I know a few people who have recently had it, that it's making a comeback. So yeah, or whatever the new variant is. So yeah, maybe that'll play a role in it. I don't
mm,
know. It'll be definitely interesting to see how that plays out, though, if he
yeah,
wants to push it that soon to where they have to come in. Also, I mean, he's the CEO. How can anybody have a meeting with him without it being Zoom? really at this point. I mean, can somebody
Yeah,
just
and
go
you're
there
really
and
busy.
I'd like a meeting with Jamie Dimon, please? I mean, I feel like that's not really feasible, or that's just him saying, I don't want to have many more meetings anymore. So I'll just be like,
Yeah,
it has to be in person. Oh, I'm busy. You can't do it.
yeah, because
That
seriously,
seems like that kind of play to me.
right. I feel like he's being a little, I think he's being a little short-sighted because
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. I mean, like I was able to do so many meetings in one day because you're able to toggle from one Zoom to another some days versus, driving all the way to Los Angeles for an hour there and an hour back. It
Yeah.
just seems less efficient in some scenarios, not all, right? Some
Right.
scenarios.
Not all, but
Mhm.
definitely way more efficient to do it online for a lot of
Yeah.
this stuff.
Yeah. So I think it's a combination of two. Like obviously like conferences and some like speaking things, you definitely like what you're doing, Greg. You definitely need a room person, but maybe a
Yeah.
combination. But that's what I've got today. Those are the
Yeah.
only things I want to share.
Well, I've got a couple of things. So there's ones I mentioned at the beginning. It's the first one I'll talk about is something we've brought up here on the show quite a bit. And there are more changes happening now, as always, when it comes to Twitter or X. If you've moved on to calling it X, I'm still going to call it Twitter for right now. But some other things in the news about that. So these are coming from a couple of reports. One of them has to do with, well, this is actually official, is that TweetDeck is now turning into a fully paid service. So the news coming out that it's going to be called, if you go in there, it's going to be called X Premium, which is now part of, oh yeah, that's formerly Twitter Blue. So essentially, it's not completely happened yet, but it's starting to roll out. I've already seen a few people that I know who have been saying, yeah, TweetDeck's not working for them anymore. It's going to become a subscriber-only feature for X Pro. They said on July 3rd that the transition would happen in about 30 days. So it seems like they missed that, but it is starting to roll out. So for those of you, and I'm curious for anybody out there who does manage like maybe a lot of Twitter accounts, or you're managing it for a company, TweetDeck's a pretty efficient way to handle all that stuff. How do you feel now that that's going to be changing? And then the other thing is right there from Twitter. And this is the report that Elon, or Twitter X, is throttling sites of, say, newspapers or media outlets that were critical of him.
Oh my
So
goodness.
this was reported by a couple of different places who analyzed some Google Analytics, and they said that the load-in times for a lot of the sites that say have had some critical things, like the New York Times or Reuters, have been taking 5 to 10 seconds to load, and versus 2.9 seconds is what they used to. And so the thought is the math kind of works out to where it seems like these sites are being throttled, and meaning it's slowed down so that you can't load them as quickly. And they just happen to be media sites that have been critical of Elon in the past. What a coincidence. I don't know. I do want to know what people think about that. Vicky, yeah, more drama with Elon Musk. Yeah, it is. It's always some drama going on there. Those are two of the biggest ones that I've been seeing. But the throttling thing, that sounds like it's just he's trying to annoy some people. The TweetDeck thing could really have an effect on a lot of businesses, I feel like. Have you ever used TweetDeck?
Yeah, Greg, I want to jump on the TweetDeck
Yeah,
discussion. I think this is a good one, especially since
yeah,
we have a weekly tweet chat. I will say that a
right.
lot of the people who are on our tweet chat utilize TweetDeck just because the volume of tweets that come. It's unfortunate that this free tool that a lot of people enjoyed and really depend on for tweet chats is
Yeah,
now going to be a paid feature, because I know for a fact that the majority of people who used it are not going to want to pay, because
yeah,
the experience on Twitter has been anything but pleasant in the last year. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, but the whole throttle, that, wow, great. That's like next level. I can't even believe that that's
Well,
a thing.
and it kind of goes against everything that he keeps saying, this is for everybody, whether I agree with you or not, but at the same time, doing that, throttling things. The other drama, the even more drama, if you want, when it comes to Twitter, has to do with some of the indictments that are coming out against former President Trump. And I just started digging into this, but expect that we're probably going to see a lot of information about this coming out over the coming weeks or days.
Mhm.
It has to do with some requests for information from Twitter for information of whatever Donald Trump was doing with his former Twitter account. And Elon's stance on that, on not giving out that information, versus him with the Twitter files, where he released all of this private information and what the government did. But then now he's seemingly against releasing information that has to do with Trump. So again, that's just kind of a very surface level thing. But if you want to dig into that, there's a whole lot of info going on out there right now about that and about some requests for information. So I think we're going to get some more drama on that. The bottom line is Twitter, always drama. And the TweetDeck thing could affect a lot of people on how they manage their business. And honestly, I think this could be one of those things where, even more so than all the other stuff that he's done, this could be one of those things that starts getting people to push away from them, from using Twitter, because they're making it very difficult for all these companies that put out all this content to manage it, Yeah. And like you, for your tweet chats, how to manage that stuff using that platform, and they're making it a pain.
Yeah. And then, it's interesting that you say that, because I've noticed in the last 72 hours, the alerts I've been getting from threads have definitely increased. I think a lot of people, a lot more activity is occurring on Meta's threads, which is, so a lot of people, I feel like, you and I probably aren't as active on threads, as we are on Twitter.
Yeah.
But that being said, I definitely think the activity on threads has picked up. So perhaps we need to take a closer look at that now.
Yeah.
You and Greg, you probably heard about this drama with the Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk cage fight, if
Yeah.
you will. I guess was it that Elon shared on Twitter or something that or X, that he was going to go and show up at Mark Zuckerberg's front door, but then someone from Meta said that Mark's actually not home right now.
I actually missed that one, but I've definitely seen the drama, because he was talking about they were going to fight, and he set it up with the Prime Minister of Italy or something about that, like setting up a place to fight in Italy, and then Mark Zuckerberg couldn't. But it's just all so silly. Like, all of it's like these are multi-billionaire people who have the power over so many lives in so many different ways, shapes, or forms.
Use your power for good.
Yeah, and they're sitting there, taking shots at each other about, I'm going to fight you. I'm going to fight you. Like, it's just
take that energy and raise money for Maui. That's what I want to say, or the Ukraine, help people that are in need.
Stop laying people off, that, or something. Obviously you're doing okay. Like, they've got their billions and billions. That's the most important thing to them.
But it's really interesting what you talked about, Greg, about throttling, news and slowing that down. It's almost like it almost seems sort of vindictive. Like, you don't like people who have talked badly about you. Sounds vaguely familiar.
I mean, he's blocked accounts that have done that before too. So he doesn't follow his whole mantra of free speech for everyone, no matter what it is. Doesn't really seem to like he backs that up. So Good for good or bad, whatever side of that is, of that statement you're on, he doesn't back it up. But we'll see. Now we'll see what happens from there. So yeah, lots of drama on the Twitter front that we'll be getting here. Can we switch gears to something ridiculous? Ridiculous in tech side of things. It has to do with a new television that's portable from LG. So this is called the Stand By Me, and the LG Stand By Me Go. It's basically a suitcase with a portable entertainment system. So you have a 27-inch television in there. You've got you've got different options for different kinds of entertainment pieces you can put in there. You've got a speaker. You've got you can change the monitor around. It pops out with a swivel there. And this thing is all something you can take on the go. It comes with a battery that lasts about 3 hours. It has HDMI ports, so you can hook up a gaming system if you have another way to power that. And they're saying this is how, the sacrifice people have made before is that they have entertainment in their laptops, but they don't have the sound or a big enough screen. So now you can take your full entertainment system with you. Winnie, I want to know what you think about this.
Well, it's I might not be like the exact best person to ask for this, but I will give you some context. So we are a big road trip family. In fact, my kids do competitive sports, which have a lot of equipment. So it forces us to oftentimes drive just because it's more conducive with all the stuff that we need to lug around. So I will say that this I wrote down. I can see like if this goes down in price, like $1,000, a little too steep for us right now. But like if this comes down in price, I can see this as being definitely on our wish list for Santa Claus, because this is something that we could certainly use on these like, long road trips. Like one road trip we did just a couple years ago, to give you an idea, was to San Antonio, Texas, and that took like 3 days. So
Yikes.
with 3 kids, this could be pretty good.
Yeah, that's a long time. That's a
Yeah,
long
I
time in the
like this.
car.
I actually like this. I think this is really cool. And if I will add that, like, I can also see using this for work, because sometimes in the past we've had to travel to different speaking engagements and meet with certain clients. Like, I have like a lot of clients in New York that I travel to, and I can
Yeah.
see this being a great tool to like show their statements and things like that. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see some. $1,000 is too much to me.
Yeah, a little steep,
A little steep for it.
quite a
But
bit steep.
what's that?
Quite a bit steep.
Yeah, quite a bit steep for a 20. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's only a 27-inch screen, so it's not like it's a giant television that you're popping out. Now, if it had like something where you could fold it out and you get like a 60-inch screen, that'd be kind of cool. And then you could fold it down and pack it all back into that suitcase. I like that idea. But there is going to be a market for it. Somebody's going to be picking that up.
Somebody's really rich. I can do that. But think about it. Like at this price, you could buy yourself a sleek suitcase. You could put a projector screen in it, and you can want to get small projectors. And
Yeah.
you could probably buy three of those setups for the price of this thing.
Yeah.
Sure, it wouldn't be as, bougie as this or fancy as this,
Right.
but I mean, like, it's hard to save money, and like I like doing that. So,
Yeah. So no Stand By Me. Stand By Me Go. But it's an interesting product. So I always do like
push that price down. Get it like
bring the price down.
What? So
But
Greg, let me ask you, what price would be good? Do you think would make sense for you for this?
$200 I'd pay for it. I'm not going to pay too much because I don't see enough use cases for me. But if it were like $200, yeah, I might consider it.
Yeah, then that'd be kind of camping gear, right? Because I could see you.
Yeah, but then they'd go against my themes of camping. So
yeah, of no tech.
I'd be going against myself. Although that would be kind of hard to resist in certain cases. Then again, okay, never mind. I don't want that, because then I would use it, and then I would be mad at myself.
Agreed.
Yeah. So there we go. But
Okay.
it is pretty cool. All right, I've got one final thing here that I wanted to talk about, and this is going to some really crazy future stuff that's actually happening now. So this comes from a combination of two scientists. It's always going to be good when I start with that, who have been studying different ways to interact with the brain. So using basically electrodes, and what they were doing, we're working with people who were epileptic, or who had lost the ability to, even beyond that, who had lost the ability really to communicate well. Through various illnesses. And they put these electrodes on them as to run some of these tests. And they've been trying to figure out different ways to read brain waves to communicate. And we've seen different studies of that before, where we've seen some different even use cases, and some demos and some videos of that, where they show where you can read the brain waves and, understand what's going on, or even control a keyboard. And this time what they did was they wanted to use music. And so they had one of these people who were attached to it. They basically thought of a song and started listening to that song in their head. You know how we always listen to songs in our head? This was able to pick it up and almost get it correctly for a Pink Floyd song. So they were able to convert these brainwaves into something audible of basically part of the song from Pink Floyd. It's such a weird thing. I know, even just saying it out loud, it just sounds so outlandish. It was part of another brick in the wall. And yeah, there is a sample there. I don't know if we can play that. If we can, that would be. So that's all in all, it's just another brick in the wall. Now, granted, that's not like super clear, but that's coming off of that. Yeah, it's just that's from brainwaves. Brainwaves.
Creepy.
Yeah, the brainwaves were able to read that. I mean, and that's close enough. Even if I didn't know that was Pink, like somebody didn't tell me ahead of time, I would be able to identify what that song was just because I know Pink Floyd.
Vicky too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good song, but that is just wild that they're getting that good at this, that they can do that. And so the idea here, there's good ramifications for this, is that this is essentially going to help add in so much more context for communication for once as they develop these these systems to read brainwaves. And this is a lot of it, is to help people who are nonverbal, who are just unable to speak. And you think about Stephen Hawking, people like that. And so this is able to go through that cross-sex better. So it's like the music that you hear in your head that you couldn't remember what the song is. Yeah, maybe that would help identify it. I've got that a few times where I'm like, this, it's not going to help me out with Shazam or anything else. Like I've got to, what is that song? So yeah, maybe you could just actually think it. But yeah, so they're trying to speed this up. Another way they looked at this was they called it a keyboard for the mind, trying to develop that. So this is, again, for people who are unable to speak. So this is a really good thing for those people. But also they're looking at it, and this is another thing that one of the scientists said. He said, it's really about reducing friction and allowing people to just think their action. One example, you could think, order my Uber, and you don't have to finish what you're doing. Your Uber arrives.
Whoa.
So that's going out into the future where we'd have some kind of a cap on that's just reading our brain waves. And that's a little bit too far for me. I don't know if I want somebody having access to that much of that's basically mind reading. However, the tech, pretty cool. And especially if it does help people communicate, who are unable to verbally communicate. That part is good. Reading my mind
is amazing. I love this. Love this. My dad got in the hospital and then like he ended up being nonverbal, and I think it was like the hardest last 2 years of his life. And I just think like how many people would benefit from this technology when they can they can think it, and then they would be able to it would be incredible. I love this. I'm all for this. So thank you so much for sharing this.
Yeah. And there's a lot of research going on out there for that kind of thing for those exact reasons, you're just unfortunately unable to, speak, but this would be a way to bridge that gap and everybody could communicate. So that's kind of tech that I really like. Again, I don't know if I want it reading my mind when I want an Uber, but the rest of it, yes.
I feel like lunch right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm thinking of tacos, and all of a sudden tacos are right. Well, that'd be a good thing, I guess.
That wouldn't be bad.
That'd be all right. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're doing this show, and the taco truck shows up. Greg, you hungry?
Yeah, well, the time of day we're doing it, that'd be about every time. Yeah, there'd be tacos waiting. Okay, never mind. I want that tech. I want this to happen. Taco. But that's what I've got for today, though. So definitely interesting stuff to check out. And as always, I want to remind everybody, you can feel free to send us send us anything that you find, you think we would think is interesting. Because I love this out there tech stuff and just, having these discussions and finding out what's going on. So please, by all means, send any articles or cool things that you find. Cool or creepy.
Cool or creepy. And a huge thank you to all of you who've been so supportive of this show and sharing the show. And said a special shout out for Vicky for doing that, and also for Joshua for doing that. And so we really appreciate it. We see it. We thank you so much for that. And if you do that as well, make sure to tag us at Greg Nibbler, at Winnie's Son when you do post, and so that we can properly thank you on a future show as well. We truly, truly appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much, everybody. It's awesome. And thanks for joining us here on a Wednesday. And we'll be back next week, probably back on Friday. I think it's summer. Schedules get weird, but we thank you all for joining us. And I guess that's it. We'll talk to you next time.
Take care.
Bye.